Testing.
Today is Wednesday, March 15th, 2023. We will call this meeting to order at 5:35 p.m. and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Just a reminder tonight, at any time, if we're speaking, even if it's just to say yes or no, or a very short answer, we need everybody on mic. And so even if it's a member of the audience, we need you to come up to the podium, even if it's just a very brief answer so that the public can identify who's speaking and can hear it through the broadcast. Jake, go ahead.
I also want to add, there was some questions about the video quality. And talking to our tech folks, what we came to learn is that no matter what we do for quality of equipment or anything like that, when things go from Zoom to YouTube, it actually downgrades the ratio of video quality. It's kind of a known thing in the tech world, not something that we all live by, but so if folks are having a hard time seeing level of quality of the video, it's in part because of what YouTube does to make it publicly available. Also, when we've been sharing slides, it's hard to see others. So you may see tonight that I'll put the slide up and maybe bring it down once in a while so people can still kind of center in the room. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say that we got a quote to upgrade all of this equipment and use one space last year, and it was over $200,000, and we decided to hold off on that. So people are always welcome to attend in person. These are live public sessions, so I want to just say that out loud for everyone to hear. And we'll try to do a better job with the mic use.
Thank you. We'll go ahead with member introductions, starting with Ms. Scott.
Linda Scott, Lewiston City Council Representative.
Paul Popolon, Ward 7 Representative.
Megan Hurd, Ward 6.
Tanya Whitlow, Ward 4.
Elizabeth Eames, Ward 3.
Janet Bowden, Ward 2.
Bruce Damon, Ward 1.
Megan Parks, at large.
Jake Lang, the superintendent.
Karen Paquette, Assistant Superintendent.
Agenda item number 3 is to receive the following budget presentations, the bright spots shared by principals and directors, and budget options.
So to try to have a somewhat consistent format, we built a slideshow that shared some of the data that you got last year that people seem to enjoy, like who's the administration, how many staff do you have, enrollments, those kinds of things. So we started with that, but we wanted to include bright spots. So following that slide for each school, they created a couple of slides. And I tried to keep that succinct because we have a number of principals, directors, and programs to talk about tonight. You're free to ask any questions, of course, that you may have with follow-ups. Some may have a handout for you because they wanted to share a little more than I kind of gave them for a time slot to do so. So I told them that would be fine. And so when they're done, they may come around with some more pictures or a little bit more information for you. But we're just going to go through that if that's okay. All right, we're going to start with
It was a surprise order tonight, so I was the lucky one, right?
So I'll introduce Christina Tideswell. Christina is the one of our assistant ELL directors or multilingual office directors. And Liza McLemore, who is our director, is on vacation this week. So Christina, I guess you drew the short straw. Is that how we described it? No, Christina's here to share her slides and some information about the multilingual department.
All right. Thank you for having me tonight. Like Karen said, my name is Christina Tideswell, part of the Multilingual Center, formerly known as the ELL department. We've transitioned along with the state from ESL and ELL to multilingual learners. Wanted to focus on two things tonight, the growth of our student population in our department and the partnerships we've created this year to support engagement of our families and really get them involved. Our student enrollment this year, pre-K through 12, including Lewiston Academy, Next Step, Rooted, all of our programs is about 1,400 students, depending on the day. In our department, we do have 50 teachers, pre-K through 12, 7 language facilitators that are building-based, and they support any communication between students, staff, and parents throughout the day. And then we have 3 multilingual support staff at our office. Can I change these? Okay. All right. So in our district, a little information, we have 33 languages as of this week. Our top languages are Somali, Portuguese, French, Swahili, Kinyarwanda, and Arabic, along with a lot of other languages, but those are our top ones. One thing that's really big in our department is the WIDA state assessment called the Access. It is the assessment that we're required to give our students to assess their English language proficiency. One celebration is that we just finished it in January, February, and we had a 90% completion rate. That's students who finished all 4 parts of the assessment. I would say the other 10%, quite a few of those students finished from 1 to 3 parts of the test. They didn't complete it, but they, for whatever reason, but we did have 90% of our student population complete the entire test. So that's a success. And we really use that information on that assessment to guide our instruction with all of our teachers. And it also involves a lot of our class placement for our students. Thinking about that assessment, we are moving our students. Our goal is to move our students out of the ELL multilingual program. You see, I slip up. I'm still learning too. But last year, we had 62 students exit the multilingual program. So that's a celebration. That's when they achieve a 4.5. There's a score from 1 to 6. So I would say that's a little lower than it has been, but I think it has a lot of, just like everything else, it has some effects from COVID. So we are going to get our current school year's access results in May. So we are expecting that number to rise this year. Another thing that our department has been really busy with is since September, this school year, we've registered over 200 new students during the school year. And registering we're kind of a one-stop shop. They come in and the enrollment papers they're assisted with those. They have a screener to see if they do qualify for some multilingual services. And then we also connect them with the schools, transportation, all those other needs to really get them a solid start. So our office has been busy with that. The other point I wanted to make with new enrollment is that I looked at the calendar year, not the school year, the calendar year of 2022, and our enrollment at the Multilingual Center had more than doubled compared to the past 5 years. So we are really growing. Like I said, the other thing I wanted to highlight was some partnerships that we have really been working on this year to increase that communication with our parents to understand the how and why and how we can support them and they can support their students. The first one is through an RSIG grant. We've gotten creative this year and partnered with Adult Ed to create some classes for our new Mainers to learn about the hows and whys of schools, specifically LPS schools. Some of the programs that or topics that these classes have included school structure, resources, grading systems, how to communicate with teachers. So we're really starting with our new Mainers and trying to get them a solid start as far as communication and just knowledge of how to navigate, because there's a lot of, obviously a lot of things to navigate. We've also partnered with and participated with the Maine community integration meetings to support understanding of public schools in kind of a different way. We've had a lot of different group conversations about parent and student rights, the responsibility of the school systems and our legal responsibilities, and then really just as another pathway for communication for those questions and you know, how to support schools and the parents and caregivers. So that's been a really successful one as well. The last two bullets, the University of Maine partnership is, we've had that for a couple of years now. We are trying to increase the number of ESL, because that's what the state still calls it, for certification. Our ESL certified teachers that we have in the district. So we offer one class a semester that is based in Lewiston, but is hosted by University of Farmington. And we've been averaging about 10 staff members every semester taking those classes. So we're really not only helping our parents with some knowledge, but we're moving our teachers too and supporting them. The final thing I have here was really exciting. We got, we're working with the high school in the state of Maine with the Seal of Biliteracy. And that's an award that recognizes any student who completes the process that is proficient in another language other than English. The real bonus for that is that many of the colleges accept the Maine Seal of Biliteracy with some college credits. So they get a little head start with that. So we've been really working with the high school for that. And at graduation, they're going to get some kind of either medal or cords or something. So yeah, I feel there's a lot of things going well, and we're growing, and we're really trying to focus on those partnerships with home as well. That's all I have. What questions do you have?
Any questions or comments from any committee members? Are we opening up to the public for individual items? Yes. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment or question? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a handout.
Member Scott?
Thank you. In case anybody leaves before, if we don't have questions, I just want to let everybody know that this, to me, I asked for this specifically because I believe this is an integral part to our budget season, and hearing from all of our administrators and really hearing the highlights and what happens in our schools. It's important for our community. It's important for our board members. And I just want you all to know I really appreciate that you all came tonight to speak to us. Thank you.
For members of the committee, I passed out a copy of the slides. They don't necessarily go in order because we had some people that had some scheduling components. So next up, we're going to take a look at Farwell, and we'll invite Principal Bard up. We also have Assistant Principal April Karen. I don't know if she's going to go up or not, but she's here and available for questions also.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to talk with you about all things that we're doing at Farwell Elementary School. I'm Andrew Bard, I'm the principal. April Karen is my assistant principal, and Jim Cliff is a special ed assistant principal. To date, we have 392 students, 105 staff, and we do house the district's functional life skills classroom, as well as the RISE classroom as well. So we focus our our slides on two components, learning and community engagement. So as you can see, we have quite a few opportunities for our students when it comes to outside organizations and after school. We have partnerships with Bates, Central Maine Community College, as well as USM for interns that are in our schools every day. We have a robust 21st century program after school. We do a spring musical. So if you want to come see The Lion King, mark your calendars for May, first week in May. We have opportunities for students to work collaboratively as a school. We do school-wide book buddies and classroom buddies to help pair some of our older students with our younger students. We do a math night. We had 115 attendees, families, students attend that event earlier this school year. We'll be doing a literacy one next month. So we have quite a few opportunities for development with the after school in our community. So we are learning every day. We're pretty involved with the illustrative math curriculum in grades 3 through 6. Kid Lip, Sound Wall in the lower grades is pretty well implemented by all teachers in those grade levels. Reading is fundamental, and our kids are constantly trying to make gains with the use of interventions and so forth as well. So other bright spots that we have done, we are doing a whole school grade 1 to 5 win groups. We participate in the Special Olympics. We have photo club, yearbook club, playground pals for recess support and help. But most of all, one of our biggest bright spots is our talented staff and all of our students. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Member Beauplan?
Thank you, Dr. Budd. Could you, I know for a number of years you've had the Pumpkin Fest as a fundraiser. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, I'll let Miss Karen talk about that, as this was my first year with the Pumpkin Festival.
Hi there. I want to say this was our 52nd year doing the Pumpkin Festival. It's been around for quite some time. It's organized and directed by our PTA. Admin and staff are heavily involved, but that's really where it comes from, is the PTA. The parents of Farwell put that together every year. They work really hard all summer, and it's a success every October.
Thank you.
Member Hurd?
Thank you. So I love all of the positive and great things that you have to share. And I'm going to ask every single one of you the same question. So I'm not singling you out, but how can we help? Is there something or some things that you feel like you're missing, or something that you're doing without, or how can we help? Like, this is the time to say, like, I really need this, or if I had this, I could do this. So do you have it? And not to put you on the spot, sorry.
Thanks. Well, first of all, I would definitely welcome all of you to attend Farwell for a day, just to kind of check out, the great things that we're doing, the SEL support we're with our kids. If anything, I would, just ask that you continue supporting what we have now, to really kind of make sure that we are pushing our kids forward with the resources that we have now, building coaches, SEL support, current updated curriculum. Those are some of the top things off of my mind that, we currently are using, and it's working. So we want to make sure that they're supported as we move forward for the rest of this year and into next school year.
Member Bowden?
Thank you. I just wanted to request that you send us a link or a flyer or something when your play is coming up, because I'd love to go see it, and I'm sure everyone else probably would too. So
I'm pretty sure we can get comm tickets for the school board too.
I don't mind paying. I just want to know when it is. Thank you.
Member Scott?
I just wanted to add one thing. So I started my career at Lewiston schools at Farwell, and you saying 52nd year at the Pumpkin Festival means that I was there for I believe the third annual Pumpkin Festival. That made me feel old, but I'm very proud to be an alumni of Farwell School. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I also want to make note that Assistant Principal of Special Ed Jim Cliff is also here from Farwell. I didn't see him because I didn't turn far enough, but Jim's been doing a wonderful job. So Jim, did you want to add anything? Next up, we'd welcome the Geiger team. And we have Michelle Dunham, Assistant Principal, Michelle Winslow, Assistant Principal of Special Ed, and Principal Cindy Gish.
I made my team come with me. We support each other all day, every day. So they're standing with me this tonight too. So currently we have 585 students at Geiger. We have 110 staff, about 110 staff. We have 101 special education students. We also have about 90 students added to that are currently in the RTI process, which is response to intervention. So we meet on those kids pretty regularly to track their data. We have 2 RISE classrooms in our school. So that's our special education programs. The positive things happening in our school, the top 2 things, I'll say actually top 3 things. One is my admin team. The next is our staff. We couldn't do what we do without our team behind us every day. They are the front lines and they work their butts off every day. And come back every day smiling and welcoming their students with lots of happiness and grace, and happy to see them. So this first slide that I have of pictures is really just highlighting our staff and students, because our staff and students are where it's at. And I would encourage you to come spend a day and see how special our staff and students really are. This year, especially when we have open positions, our staff they have each other's back. So if they see someone that's struggling with a kiddo, they'll hop in and say, I'll watch your class, go take a walk with them. Or if someone's not there for a duty, they hop in and cover a duty for each other. They're just so fantastic to each other. Some things that we've really worked hard on. One of the first things is family engagement. That's been one of our focuses this year, is getting our families into the school. And we, in the past, we've focused a lot on like evening events, but that doesn't work for everyone. And families really, what we heard from families is they want to see their kids in the classroom during the day in their environment. So we've worked really hard to bring families in during the school day. And staff have been great coming up with lots of different ways to do that. They had 5th grade just had donuts with grownups. They've had Valentine breakfasts, writing celebrations, you name it, they've tried it. Our PTO is small but strong. We did a great winter hangout event this year where it was just outdoor activities. There was snowshoeing and sledding and snowman building, and we had a campfire with a permit, and made s'mores. And it was just a lot of fun just seeing kids play outside. Let's see, other staff, other family events. We've had a fine motor event in kindergarten, which was a lot of fun. We do monthly assemblies, and each month we recognize students for different character traits that have presented themselves really well with that character trait. And those families are invited to see their students get an award at that assembly. We also have a drama club like Farwell. So I had to hurry up and quickly look up the date of that when Principal Bard announced his. So ours is the Seussical musical, and it is May 12th and 13th. So you're always welcome to come to that too. Another thing that we focused on district-wide is social emotional learning. Every classroom has a morning meeting every single day that's built into our schedule, which really just builds that classroom community. Students get to know each other, they get to know their teacher, and it builds that empathy in their classroom. Our monthly assemblies again. Every Monday, our SEL coach does a Monday morning mindful minute over the intercom with the whole staff. We have positive postcards that go home. So staff take time to fill those out when students are doing a good job, send those home to kids. And we hear a ton of feedback from families. Kids sometimes bring them in even and say, look what I got in the mail. Super excited about that. We had on National Kindness Day, we did a school-wide event. Every student in the school made their own kindness t-shirt with their own kindness messages on it. I think you see a couple of them somewhere. It might be on the handout. And then the other thing, also on social emotional learning, we just celebrated the International Social Emotional Learning Day, which was a ton of fun. And again, I encourage you to come in. One of the best things that we did, that I thought was the best thing, we did a school-wide writing prompt. So every single classroom got a book called The Best Part of Me. And it's a black and white book, and it is just little kids' stories, and they talk about what is the best part of them. So kids wrote about the best part of me is my hands because I love to write or draw. And they talked about the best part of them. And it's in the hallways pre-K to 6, and their pictures are amazing. Anywhere from their hair to their voice, to their legs, their feet, because they run fast, all kinds of things. So it's just celebrating the uniqueness of every student and highlighting what's special about them. The last thing that we put on our handout too is professional development. We've worked a lot, obviously district-wide, on foundations of reading and illustrative math. Geiger's in a little bit of a different place because we've been doing illustrative math school-wide for a few years now. So K to 6 is doing illustrative math. So we're a little bit ahead on that. And that's been great.
Member Whitlow?
Yeah, can you just explain what illustrative math is?
Yeah. So illustrative math is the curriculum that we use. And that is the focus for PD for grades 3 through 6 this year. Well, pre-K to 2 is focused on, is more focused on the foundations of reading. And illustrative math is really, it really focuses on students using that academic dialogue and talking to each other about their math and their math thinking and explaining why they're doing something. So if you go into a classroom, you hear this amazing talk from students about different strategies that they're using, and kids come up with strategies that I never even would have thought of, but they work for them. And they're able to explain that thinking. So other professional development things, we have learning labs with district coaches across the district, some that have happened at Geiger. Coaching cycles, we have book studies, and coaching cycles happen with math, ELA and our SEL coach. Michelle for special ed has done some co-teaching PD with our 5th and 6th grade. So our special education students are in the gen ed classroom for pretty much the majority of the day, except a few that need different plans. So they're in with their peers for most of their day. And then another focus that we had this year, and this was feedback that we got from our ed techs last year, was giving our ed techs more academic PD. So the academics that they're supporting students on in the classroom. So our literacy and math coaches have been working with our ed techs a few times throughout the year, how to support students in writing, how to support students in the math that they're supporting in the classroom. Anything else? Got it? Any questions?
Member, I'll go down the line. Oh, well.
I know what you're gonna.
Member Heard.
So yes,
Same question.
just pretend like your boss is not sitting right there. Jake, cover your ears, and Karen, cover your ears. But yeah, anything that you feel like you could use or
Yeah.
how
So,
can we
I
help?
mean, we all have open positions. So, I mean, as far as recruiting and finding staff to fill those open positions would always be wonderful. And then finding a way to get those ESER positions into the budget next year. I know I've spent a lot of time thinking about those positions and trying to say like which ones hold more. They're all super important. I don't know how we'll live without them. So just trying to be creative of how we can get those positions into the city budget.
Member Scott?
Thank you. I guess I would like to have so that each one doesn't have to answer, a rundown of how many open positions per school, so that we can, if we can know, do we have that available, that we know which one?
I don't have it off the top of my head. We can bring you a report on that. And it fluctuates daily. As far as hires or people who step away and all that.
I think maybe a generalization, because when we're looking at, we're looking at these slides with number of staff, number of students, number of special ed students, which is really important to see, number of ELL students. Let's look at the numbers on where we're really short on staff in these schools. I think it would be important. Thank you. Thank
Member-
you, Cindy.
Member Bowden.
Yeah, and on that same note, if you could include I mean, I want to see how many open positions there are, but how many of those open positions are on our chopping block as well? Like, can you show us what's open yeah. Do you know what I'm asking? Okay.
Is
Thank
that
you.
something that the principals would know at their own individual schools or not necessarily?
It's a moving target and you have different areas too, like, I mean, some may have a general sense, for sure, but you may have specialized areas like, special education or special programs where, some things are there. I also want to be mindful of if we start talking about specific schools and we're not quite there with decisions on things yet, that we start talking about individuals and they should be invited to that conversation. So.
Member Whitlow?
Thank you so much. I just want to say how impressed I am with like just your presentation of telling us all the things you've done with family engagement, and I really close to my heart with the whole postcard things, writing. I know that a lot of you weren't here, but we did a teacher appreciation, and one of the teachers from Geiger, when my son was there, it was very special because he's in special education, and she sent a postcard, and it was just a very, very touching moment when my son was actually able to read it. And so it was very special that you guys are kind of taking that a little further. So thank you.
Member
I'll give
Scott?
credit to Mr. Fortier at the high school for that because he had sent one to my kids a while back. And then I used that idea for Geiger.
And just one more question on the SEL. Now that we're sort of back from COVID and everything's happening, can we talk a little bit, maybe each, I probably should have thought of this at the last one, but how you're seeing that effectively helping our students in ways that are improving their, going through the day and getting their academic work done?
Yeah. Identifying emotions is hard especially for our little guys. And that's where we see a lot of our students that are very dysregulated. So when you think about a first grader, a K-2, really, those really important years where they were learning to share and they were learning to play, that they couldn't do that and they were home or they didn't go to daycare for those reasons. They're missing some of those skills. So the frustration level is high. So really learning how to implement the ruler approach and that mood meter and how to identify those feelings. And it's okay to be angry. It's what we do with that anger. So all of the feelings are okay. And our SEL coach has done a great job of just going into the classroom and setting those classroom charters. And these are the things that we've agreed to as a classroom and revisiting those things. And it's all day, every day.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you all. Next up, we have Connors, and it looks like we have Principal Ferrara, Assistant Principal Whitney Ralph, and Travis Jalbert. And Jess Riss, Assistant Principal of Special Education.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having us here tonight. As you can see, I'm from Connors Elementary School. My name is Don Ferrara. I'm the principal there. You could see our administrative team on the top, and underneath that is our student enrollment. We currently sit at 687. I was in our numbers today, and when we were looking at the CNA meeting I was at this morning, we've had 116 students that have come into our building this year. So that's as the ongoing part of that. So our numbers fluctuate a little bit as students move in and out. Of those, we have 272 ELL students, 148 special education, and 504. 504 is a student that does not have an IEP and is not identified as special ed, but does have needs. So those needs come into some of those same areas and they're overseen by some of the same people. The other number you see there is 47 McKinney-Vento students. That's 47 students that are right now classified as homeless. So we have 47 homeless students at Connors as well. 150 staff, including all of our ed techs, teachers, and counselors. This year, we have not had school guidance counselors. It's not for lack of trying or advertising. There's just none out there right now that we're able to attract. It's an ongoing search. We hope to fill those roles. In the interim of that, we've had some folks working in social emotional learning capacities. Administration's been filling in some of that, but we do have folks that are servicing kids. Our self-contained programs, special education, we have 2 self-contained behavior classrooms inside the building, and we have 5 resource classrooms. Inside those, we also have 4 FLS or RISE classrooms, and the plan at this point is to bring 2 more on next year. A building of this size, nature hates a vacuum. We've been filling classrooms as quickly as we can to give students the opportunities that we can. Can I have the next slide? So the next slide, these are some of the bright spots that we've looked at. There are many more, but these are some of the biggest ones that we identified. We have worked for the entire year to finally fill our last general ed teaching spot as of 2 weeks ago. So at this point right now, we have the amount of teachers that we had programmed to have at the beginning of the year. And that's a tribute to our staff. So in the classrooms where we did not have the number of teachers that we needed, those teachers were quick to say, I will take on the extra students. I will overload my classroom. I will take these students, even though I know that they have some difficulties that come with them because I have a relationship and I know I can help them. So the success that students and our staff have had this year are directly related to the effort of our staff. So I want to make sure I say kudos to them for the amount of effort that they've put in to make this year successful. Another one of our bright spots is we have grade band interventions that have been very successful. With the Easter money that we were allotted 2 years ago now, we brought on grade level interventionists. And what that's allowed us to do is work with students, even if they're not identified as special ed, in breakout sessions. So students are allowed to have smaller, intimate 4 or 5 group sessions that have moved their scores and allowed them to go back to the classroom and then put that into practice. And we have some very good folks. A year from now, I'll be standing here asking you to support moving them into the general budget. As difficult as I know that conversation will be, it's an integral part of what we do. And one of the discussions that we'll have to have of what, if we have to, we can trade, because that's how much I believe that these are important to our students. We have also had a focus on communication with home for this year. We just had a recent multicultural night. It drew about 400 people. And in that, we also are looking to start a PTO. We haven't had one in this building. When these buildings merged between Martell and Longley, Martell had a small PTO that was running well, but then those students have moved on from us. Of course, the parents have moved on with them, and we need to start a new push to get a program here that's supporting our parents and getting their voices into the school with us. So that's one of the questions we asked at that, who would be interested? We had about 40 people that said they'd be interested. So we just need some parental help to take on the spearhead of that. We're glad to support that, but we really need that to come from parents so that we can get the communication going back and forth. For the first time since we've been open in 2019, we have been able to secure field trips for every grade level. So every grade level is going to get an experience that's outside the building of Connors. That may be at the public theater. That may be at the Maine Botanical Gardens, the Gray Animal Farm, a trip to Boston, a trip to the Franco Center. But we have something for all of our students to be able to have something that they can connect with the community or the larger community outside of Maine. Some of our students, they never leave Lewiston. So to get to a city like Boston and the culture that comes from there, the history that comes from there, just to show that the world is much bigger than where we are right now. We have a civil rights team here that's very active. They meet weekly. Sometimes they meet a couple of times a week. They do great work for us. They actually did a focus on equity for the White House this year, and were chosen to have their ornaments displayed at the National Tree Lighting. Can we go to the next slide just to show that? If you look on the top right, that's one of the trees at the White House that was part of the National Tree Lighting, and those are the ornaments that our students made on that tree. Some of the other photos you see are from our family engagement nights. You'll see, I'll talk about the photo on the bottom right corner in just a second, but I wanted to make sure that I give a shout out to that team because they've done tremendous work for us this year. That bottom right picture is a picture from our summer consortium. We had a summer consortium for our teachers. It was completely voluntary. They got paid if they came. But what that did is allow us to introduce things like SciOp, which is our new reading program. Our math program that's new to a lot of our students, our students and staff. Let teachers meet their teams. One of the things we've struggled with is we hired a lot of new teachers. They land here on day one. They don't know who they're working with, right? They feel that there's a lot of an island that they're on. This helped with that. They were able to do teamwork together. They were able to plan together, do curriculum together, learn new curriculum together. And to a person, when I spoke with them, the response was overwhelmingly positive, that teachers felt like they were coming in already jump-started for the year. So all the stuff that they would take the first 2 weeks of getting to know where the bathroom is, where this is, who are my teammates, where do we do these things? Those were all taken care of, and their curriculum was already something they were familiar with and able to start. So that was a big program for us this year. We hope to continue that into this summer as well. We subscribe to a grade band team approach here. We have 3 grade bands. We have a K2 grade band, a 3-4 grade band, and a 5-6 grade band. Inside those grade bands, we have an assistant principal that lives within the actual hallway of where those grades are. We have an SEL component with that, with a person, that's the social emotional learning component. I'm getting ahead of myself. And then we have an RTI person that supports that as well. So with that, students have direct support that's immediate inside the grade band. So if you're familiar with our building, you know that grade 3-4, grade 5-6, they're one long hallway. The offices of those folks are in the hallway. So if a student starts to have a moment where they're struggling, they need some support, that support is right there outside the door. Teachers can access that immediately. And many times something that would turn into something large is able to be kept small or not at all, because there was such an immediate response to that. It's helped with our retention of our teachers because they're feeling more supported. Inside each grade band, you'll also see a 6-foot dragon. And on that, you'll see little scales that students earn. It's called our Dragon Scale Award. They earn that throughout the day for a plethora of reasons. And once they have filled that dragon, the whole grade team gets a reward. It could be a movie in here. It could be an extra thing outside that they do that's special. It could be an ice cream party. There's a lot of different things, but we've seen that as that's been implemented, students are turning that over faster now because they understand what I need to do to earn those dragon scales, to earn those rewards. And it's been a really good response from students. So those are just some of the things that we've done this year. There are many other things that we've done with our PD. Each one of the assistant principals, as well as myself, kind of takes on a specialty. For example, Travis Jalbert, one of the assistant principals, he's TCI certified. He trains teachers within the district to be able to do therapeutic crisis interventions. So that's how do you prevent students from flooding? How do you get to students before they get to that triggering event? And if we get to the triggering event where there's something dangerous, how do you then react to that in a way that's therapeutic and compassionate, even if you have to put a student into a hold? Whitney Rolf, who's with us, does a lot with the SEL, ruler training, mood meters, all the stuff that we've done to push that along. She's very good with curriculum as well. So she does a lot of those things to bring back for all of us. Jess Ritz, who's sitting over on the other side, she's our special education administrator. Jess does all things that are special ed. And I don't know what we would do without her. Her knowledge brings a lot to the table. And for our kids, she's busy from the time she walks in until the time she leaves here. So there's no downtime for her, but she's very, very good at what she does, and it's helped our students tremendously. So that's, in a nutshell, some of what's going on at Connors. I'll be glad to answer questions. I do have a handout for you as well that I'll give at the end.
Member Bowden?
Thanks. I don't have a question so much as I just want to say how thoroughly impressed I am with all the work going on in this school. You guys opened and COVID hit, and you've kind of gotten a bad rap in this school. There's been a lot of turnover, and I am so impressed with what you shared with us tonight. And to hear that you could have a multicultural night and pull out 80% of your student body, it's amazing. So well done to the Connors. I mean, I'm not I'm not taking away from the other schools. I'm just really, really impressed, and I'm really happy to see all the positive work going on.
Thank you.
Yes, great job.
Member Hurd?
So you already know my question.
I do. Inside my packet that I give you, it does have some of my concerns about, what we need to do as a budget. I understand the budget component that we find ourselves in and the ask of our taxpayers. I've stood in front of the board now for the last 13 years, different boards and different budget and financial places. And, Linda's been in different positions on those boards that I've stood in front of. And some years have been much harder than others. This will be the most difficult, I believe, of the years that I've stood in front of a board in my whole career, and this is year 25. So I do understand that. I would ask that somebody wanted to know what we really need. I think we need to have as much support as we can so that we can pass that along to our students and our staff. I think for some of our staff, and it was mentioned about, you know, the bad rap in the beginning, there was just overwhelming things that happened bringing two community schools together in a pandemic year with, you know, all kinds of unknowns that we weren't ready and really couldn't be ready because we didn't know what we didn't know. Well, we know it now. And knowing it now, we have to react to it in real time. So that's what I would ask for. I would ask for the grace to be able to do the things we need to do with the tools that we need to do it, understanding that we know we can't keep all the tools.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Next up, we have the McMahon team. We have Principal Charlotte Charlotte Johnson. Apologize, I'm slow in the uptake here. Charlotte was married, I apologize. Charlotte, do you have other members of your team here?
No.
Okay.
It's just me.
I didn't want to miss anyone like I did Jim.
But my other team members are listed right up here. So I'm Charlotte Johnson, the principal, and then I have Jeff Ramich, who is an assistant principal. You guys nominated him as my AP at the end of last year, and he's been doing a great job. And then we have Michelle Russell, who is a special education assistant principal, and she's been around for a while. She was my assistant principal last year, but she's now moved into the special ed role. And the three of us are a great team. We have 489 students, 144 ELL with 132 special ed. We have 135 staff. A lot of my staff numbers may look a little bit bigger than some others, especially compared to my enrollment, but I have a lot of staff in my day treatment program with the number of BHPs that we need to run that program successfully. And then in addition to day treatment, I was able to open a self-contained program this year, which has 6 students, 1 lead teacher, and 3 BHPs. And that has been a tremendous support to our school overall. So you can go to the next slide. And I tried to capture in 2 slides all of my bright spots through pictures. So we'll just walk through what I have up here. So first over here, we have some author visits. So since COVID, our students didn't really get a lot of visitors. And so this year we've been able to have 2 authors come into our library and meet with students and share their writing and experiences with our students. So we have Huda Ibrahim at the top, and then we have Lynn Plord at the bottom. And so that was a great success for all of our kiddos to see real authors and be able to interact with them and ask them questions about the writing process and what their next book might be. And so that was a really fun experience. In the middle, I have a bulletin board that says, we love teaching and here's why. That's how we kicked off our school year to really set the foundation of why we do what we do and why we love what we do. And so that's kind of been the theme throughout the year, is that we love our kids and here's why, and we let our students know that. So that's been a really good thing that's strung us together and held us together this year. We've had a lot of great learning that's happened throughout the year. And so these 3 pictures kind of highlight some of that great learning and celebrating that we've been able to do. On the bottom, we have our teachers engaging in professional development. And like the other principals mentioned, we've been spending a lot of time with the Reading Foundation PD for our pre-K through 2, and then the illustrative math for our grades 3 through 6. And then as a whole school, we've been working hard on SIOP, really focusing on lesson prep to make our teaching and learning accessible to all of our students. Up at the top, you all remember our second graders came to share their writing with you all. And that was a great success for our students, and a lot of their parents came and they were really proud of their kids. So we've really been trying to give that purpose to why do we learn what we learn, and share it with whoever we can share it with. On the bottom, we have our literacy coach, Sarah Parmelo, modeling some interactive writing in a second grade classroom. So she's really showing the teachers and kids how to use that sound wall, how to match our words to sounds, and what that process looks like. And then on this page, we have a lot of our SEL and community celebrations. So just like Cindy had said, we did have a National SEL Day on March 10th. All of our classrooms decorated a door to display a character trait. We have 5th grade door up there showing self-awareness. And then one of our kindergarten doors showing why it's okay to have all the emotions and how to express them appropriately. In the middle here, we have our garden. Our garden has been a huge bright spot for us. We've come and shared those great successes with you. But it's really been great for our family engagement. It's really been great for our social emotional work. And Eliza's been able to do a lot with academics as well. So it's kind of been a nice thread that touches all of the spots that we're working on. And then over here, we have some kiddos, some Tiger Paw winners. And so we've been able to have assemblies each early release Wednesday. We have assemblies to celebrate character traits that we're working on. And when kids demonstrate those character traits throughout the week, they earn a Tiger Paw, and then we pull from the bucket and they get an award and they're recognized at assemblies. So we're able to do that each early release day, and that's been a great thing to look forward to. Down bottom here, we had a family event in February. We had a winter carnival, and that was a very successful event. Probably about 200 people were there. At least that's how many slices of pizza went out the door. And it was a really successful event because we were able to have our garden there. We were able to have our coaches showing how the new curriculum, especially for math, and then how to this information about the sound wall. And then we had our school counselor there making sensory bottles. So it was really a night of SEL, garden, academics, and just all that we do. So those are my bright spots in a nutshell. I could stand up here and talk forever, but that's what I have for you tonight.
One other bright spot that's not on there because it wasn't necessarily student centric, but wanted to recognize out loud in public. Charlotte worked really hard to help support the Wreaths Across America being hosted at McMahon. And that was a wonderful event too.
Yeah.
So thank you for that one.
Yeah.
Member Heard.
Your question.
Yeah, you know my question. I have a soft spot because we are a McMahon family and we love it very, very much. So what do you need from us to keep it as amazing as it already is?
So I want to talk a little bit about my eServe positions. I have 3 interventionists in those positions, and they service students all day long in math, literacy, and then SEL when they can. Right now, we have openings for 2 school counselors, but I only have had 1 this year. And so my interventionists have had to pick up some extra SEL groups. So I rely on those 3 people to service our students a lot. And so that's my biggest focus and need to keep those people. You're welcome.
Anyone else? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we have the team from Montello. Principal Sachs, would you like to introduce your team?
Yes, please. So I'm Tiffany Sachs, interim principal at Montello, and with me, I have Allison Hopkins, who's one of our assistant principals, Chris Levine, who is another one of our assistant principals, and they really split their roles between grade levels. So Allison usually works with the younger students and Chris works with the older students, and they do a lovely job coordinating that. We also have Erica Goslin, who's our assistant principal for special education. And we have Chris Hoskins in the back, who is our MTSS, which stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support. It is a big acronym and a big job, but he coordinates a lot of systems of supports for kids. And he also runs our special programs, our after school and summer programming as well. So our student enrollment at Montello does fluctuate, like Connors had mentioned, ours does as well. So our enrollment usually goes between 550 and 650 and in the middle of the year. So we have kids coming in and out throughout the year. We do have quite a few multilingual learners and special education students, and we do have a large staff to support those students. We do not have any special purpose programs as far as special ed is concerned. So currently we are only resource room level of support. But we have a lot of bright spots to share with you. And if we had more time, I would definitely share more with you, but I really wanted to highlight 3 particular areas tonight. So the first area I wanted to highlight is just our student and family engagement. So some of you may not know, but we have partnerships, a couple community partnerships, one with Bates and one with Food Corps. So our Bates partnership involves mentorship for students, involves book buddies where kids are matched with college students and they read and talk about books throughout the day. In our Food Corps partnership, we have a couple more years left in that, but we have a garden program and we're providing garden access to all K through 6 in conjunction with one of our unified arts, which is a science explorations unified arts. So that teacher is also our garden coach. So they work really collaboratively with Food Corps. You can see the picture all the way to the left. I don't actually know who's more excited, the teacher or the students. They're all pretty excited about the work that's happening. If you were to walk into the classroom at any point, you're going to see something new. So I walked in last week and they were propagating spider plants. And kids were fascinated to find out that you can actually get more plants from one big mother plant. So some of that learning is really incredible. And we're really thankful to have Food Corps involved. I'll do a little event shout out as well. April 4th, we're having a family cooking night and Food Corps is helping us host that. And we're going to actually be learning how to make Vietnamese spring rolls with the help of Zach Pratt from Boba. And kids get to take home some ingredients with them. So it'll be a really powerful opportunity to learn a little bit about cooking, integrate healthy eating in there as well. And if it's anything like our last event, we'll draw a crowd. So it's a good problem to have when you're not sure how to fit everyone. So that leads me to one of our events that we had this year, which was hosted by our awesome LEA. And that was our family game night. So we had about a third of our student body who showed up for that event. And we actually, we ran out of room. We ran out of food and games, but families were having a really incredible time. I think people are really enjoying coming back together and being a part of the Montello community. So that was an amazingly successful event. The last event I wanted to share with you is just around us co-creating a school vision. We started this year with continuing a vision creation process that began at the end of last year. And so we involved students, parents, and staff members in sort of coming up with some ideas for what they want Montello to be, what they want it to look like. So we're in the middle of drafting that statement right now, but some themes that have come out that I thought you should know is 1, relationships are important to us as a school community. 2nd, the word thriving came out quite a bit. We want kids to thrive, not just survive in our school. And then the 3rd theme was safety. So as we draft that vision and get some more feedback on that, we're hoping that that will guide a lot of our work as a school. Some other things we've done is a parent read event. So actually we have a parent teacher friends group that focuses a little less on fundraising. It's a new membership, but they really wanted to find ways of being involved in the school community. So one event they came up with was to come in and read to students, and they read books in their first language, and we had 7 different languages represented. So we had families reading books in Swahili and Spanish and Somali and all kinds of languages, and kids, you could hear a pin drop. So kids were fascinated to hear what that sounds like when you are learning a language for the first time, when you're not really sure what the words mean, but you see the pictures. So it was a great learning experience, and it was really special to have families in and sharing a little bit about themselves. Right. So the next slide highlights a few other supports that we have. So we really have a strong system of supports at Montello, a coordinated effort to really address the academic needs, the social emotional needs, and just wraparound supports that families need in order for kids to thrive. So Chris does a lot of that orchestrating with our academic interventions and some of those academic and behavioral supports. And he works closely with our social emotional learning team, as well as our special education department. I think we're pretty strategic in how we line kids up with the supports that they are in need of. And we also have a position called our attendance and family engagement coordinator position. And that position has just been so essential to our student body. That person runs a food pantry for more than 50 families, and we hand out food twice a month. We have a clothing closet now that gives daily needs like socks and shoes and things that kids just need to, go out to recess or go to gym. We also have winter gear that we hand out to quite a few students. That office is right next to mine, and you'll see a handful of students coming in every day just to get their basic needs met. So that's been a really powerful opportunity. Lastly, that person is the point of contact for our students who are identified as McKinney-Vento. So we currently have 61 students who are identified as being unhoused. And so that position really helps align resources for families. They sit and make sure that parents know how to access housing applications and get their basic needs met at home. And then lastly, we have social emotional learning is at the forefront, I think, of everyone's minds. And at Montello, we have a team of people who really help address those needs. We do spend a significant amount of time on professional learning, and we try to get staff feedback to drive what we're focusing on for SEL and equity work. But our actual SEL team of clinicians and counselors work on skills groups with kids. They're talking about friendship. They're teaching kids about relational aggression and just some core skills that they need to be successful in school. We also service more than 60 students with just individual counseling with our clinicians. Special shout out, it is National Social Worker Month. So if you know a social worker, please say thank you. We have some on our staff and they do amazing work. They also do case management referrals. We have a partnership with Spurwink. We have a case manager who comes in weekly to support students. And we also have a clinician as part of Spurwink who works full-time with us. So we have a lot of supports for students. All of those things are really essential and allows us to just holistically support students and families so that they can thrive.
Member Bowden.
Can you just explain that bottom right photo? I'm really fascinated by this.
So as part of our International SEL Day, we invited a BMX trickster. I think his name is Manny Noguera. And he did some awesome bike tricks, including jumping over 3 staff members, which and the staff members that volunteered for that, by the way, it was quite surprising. I was very impressed that they didn't know what to expect, but they did that fully willingly. But he also integrated some talk around bullying, around how we treat each other and how we work together to achieve our goals. So it was a way for us to kind of hook kids in seeing something exciting, but also send some really important messages on International SEL Day.
Member Hurd.
So you already know my question.
Yeah, I think, as far as our school is concerned, Don shared a little bit about this. We have a lot of supports in our building, and I think those things are really necessary in order to meet the diverse needs of our student body. Our attendance and family engagement coordinator position was one that was created, and, we weren't sure what that was exactly going to look like, but now it's become really essential to our work. That person has, at the height of COVID, we had a truancy rate. I think we had more than 200 students who were truant, and now we are back down to 58, which is still more than we'd like to see. But that's a drastic change, and that person really builds great relationships with families and knows the families well and knows what the barriers are and works to address those. So that role has been really critical to our work. So I think that's, supporting that work and knowing that school is more than just what's happening inside the classroom, and that these other needs are equally as important, I think would be helpful for you all to know.
Member Scott, were you about to raise your hand? Okay. Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
So in the handout you have, you may see some lighter things for LMS and LHS, and that's because people were not available because they're away. Mr. Dumont's here for LHS, so he can share some things, but I want to invite folks back at another date so they can really share their bright spots that they're passionate about. But Mr. Dumont, you're welcome to please come up. Principal Radke is away on a trip that he had planned before he was even hired. And so we wanted to be respectful of his well-earned time off. And Mr. Dumont can share just a bit. And as I said, middle school, high school, we may have them back to share some bright spots.
I have lots of bright spots. I found out an hour and a half ago that I was presenting bright spots. And I was going to put a slide together that had stock photos of just random kids, but I didn't do that. So our administration, I don't have an extra slide, but the slide that was in there can be shared. And I specifically asked the gallery to not send text messages, Rob Callahan. So our administration includes John Radke, who's our principal, Rebecca Schuweiler, assistant principal, Todd Schiffelli, assistant principal, myself. We have Rachel Moore, who's the director of student services. Jen LaRoche Albert and Stacy Beveridge are special education assistant principals. We also have 2 deans of students who support students. Anthony Timberman is interim dean of students, and he supports 9th and 11th grade students. And Michaela Stanley also supports students in the 10th and 12th grade. In reality, we support all students. It doesn't matter what grade they're in. It's whatever happens, happens. Another very important member of our team is our language facilitator, Noria Noor. She really allows us to make connections to students and families in a way that I can't even put words to it. So I think it's important to recognize that. Our student enrollment, while it says 1363 up on the board with 279 ELL and 239 special education, it fluctuates on a daily basis. When I looked this afternoon, it was 1,378 at Lewiston High School, and then Lewiston Academy has 55 students. So we also have to remember that not only are we Lewiston High School during the day, but in the afternoon and evening, we have 55 Lewiston Academy students that access their education that way. So that's a total of 1,433 students. The bright spots that we have, again, I apologize, I don't have a slide. We have a House of Reps that meets on a regular basis, and there are student reps that are selected in their Devil's Advocate group. And the Devil's Advocate meets 2 times a week, Mondays and Fridays, for about 25 minutes. And that's where a lot of the social and emotional learning activities happen. The DA advisors have about 15 students, and they meet with them twice a week. And then within those DA groups, each group identified 1 student to represent their DA in the grade level House of Reps meeting. It allows the students voice and choice. One of the things that they identified is they would like more recognition of their achievements, not just with athletics, but with academics and clubs and other activities that are outside of athletics. And they identified that they wanted student of the month, but they wanted different levels of student of the month and how they're recognized. Some wanted to be recognized in front of the whole school, and some wanted the quick shout out where they're not called up out front of 1,400 and something students. The Friday before February break, we had a student achievement assembly where we celebrated the achievements of clubs, athletics, academics, and those students of the month who wish to be recognized out front of everybody. And then the unified basketball team played about 12 minutes of basketball, and having 1,400 students and about 200 staff members in that gym cheering on the unified basketball team is amazing. And it's always nice to see the school community come together as a whole for one common goal, and that's to watch basketball. We do have 200 teachers, ed techs, counselors, nutrition, custodial, et cetera. So it's a lot. It's a lot of people, but we're supporting a lot of students, and everybody works well together. They support each other. I could echo everything that the other administrators said about supporting teachers in a time of need. There are days where we don't have enough subs in the building. And there are days where teachers will come down to the main office and say, if you need me to do something, let me know. And that's always nice to see and nice to hear. We have special education programs of functional life skills. We have RISE, and then we have a day treatment program at Lewiston High School as well. Other bright spots at Lewiston High School. This week is March Madness week, and students and staff planned winter carnival type week where each day is a different theme. Monday was Blue and White Day. The snow day was Twin Day. I'm sure everybody twinned up then. Today was College Sweatshirt Day. Tomorrow is Country or Country Club Day. And then Friday is St. Patrick's Day. So wear your green. There are activities that are happening during lunchtime in the multipurpose room, and students have been able to eat their lunch and then go and do activities. On Monday, we had cornhole. Today, we had karaoke, and no, I didn't sing. We have a Bates mentoring program that we partner with Bates College students, where they come and they are assigned a high school student that may have been identified by a teacher or a staff member, and they meet on a regular basis throughout the semester. Our 9th through 11th graders are going through the course selection process right now. So they're selecting their classes for next year. So our school counselors are going in to their English classes to support students as they select classes. A couple weeks ago, we had junior class presentations regarding post-secondary planning, where we had college and career representatives from really all around the state and different options, not just college admissions people, to showcase all of the different opportunities that are available to high school students so that they're not waiting until their senior year to start the planning process. We have parent-teacher conferences. They just ended about 45 minutes ago for today, and then tomorrow we go until 7:30. That's why I'm flying solo tonight, because everybody else except for John Radke, they were over there. We had semester summatives that happened in January. Those were essentially midterm exams. And one thing that we recognized, and when we rolled that out to our staff and to students, is it didn't necessarily have to be an exam. It didn't have to be a test. It could be some type of performance-based assessment for students to demonstrate their learning. The feedback that we received from staff and students was positive. One thing that students said is they wish that they had had a little bit more time to prepare for the activity. Last Friday, we had SEL Day, and students had an SEL fair in the multipurpose room, which is just off the cafeteria. And students were able to recognize teachers through teacher shout-outs. So they wrote a note to a teacher or a staff member, and then they magically appeared in the teacher's room. So that was nice to see. We do have staff SEL groups that happen on a regular basis during our professional development time, where there's an SEL facilitator in each group. They're small groups, about 15 teachers, staff members, and they go through different SEL activities. We have a diversity day coming up on April 28th. Originally, it was supposed to happen sometime in March, but we realized that it was happening during Ramadan. So we adjusted it so that we could meet the needs of all students. So that's on April 28th. And we have NHS induction that's happening on April 24th. And then Center Stage Ensemble is presenting the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, May 5th through the 7th at Lewiston Middle School. And our seniors are counting down the days to June 2nd. And they love the snow days. So they're just hopeful that the superintendent continues to call the snow days. And to Ms. Hurd's question, I think continued support from the school committee and the community as a whole is what is going to allow Lewiston High School to continue to be successful in all that we do. There are great things happening on a daily basis. And I think it's really because of the work that we all do as a staff inside the building and as a community outside the building.
Member Eames?
I just wanted some clarification on the country or country club day, like country club or country club.
Yeah, I actually had to ask that question as well. I had no idea what it was. So you dress up as someone who lives in the country, jeans, boots, cowboy hat, flannel, or you can dress up in collared shirt, shorts, colorful pants. I'm glad I Googled that before.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Philip Johnston from Next Step.
Hi there, I'm Philip Johnson. I'm the Longley School Director with the Next Step program. I don't have their names up here, but Next Step has kind of a different leadership structure. So our team is made up of Anissa Abdi, our Family Engagement Coordinator, Duncan's Pierre, our Tree Street anchor, also supported by Julia Sleeper, the Executive Director of Tree, Spencer Traylor, our special ed teacher, but also a design team member from the very beginning of Next Step, and Elizabeth Sampson, a teacher who's been on our design team as well. We serve 91 students currently, and I also provide support as well to the Rooted program. You go to the next slide. So some facts, some data that we're proud about at Next Step. So this is our 5th year of operation, and we've grown from serving 20 students just in the upper grades of high school to serving 90 plus students in grades 8 through 12. Our average graduation rate of the last 4 years averages out to 81%, but to put that in context, if you take our 11 seniors on our roster this year, 10 out of 11 came into their junior year undercredited. They averaged about 7 credits out of their junior year. As of this moment today, I'm proud to say they have 18, and they all have a mapped out pathway that if they complete everything, at least they can graduate by August. So that is a credit to them and the hard work of our staff and our partnership with Tree Street to encourage them and provide as many opportunities we can to get them to their finish line. We're excited to say we have all of our teaching positions filled. This took a while, but we got there. And a data point that isn't up here is that I looked at attendance. Next Step serves a lot of students that historically haven't been coming to school. And so I compared last year's attendance to this year's attendance for each individual student, and it averages out to a 10% gain in attendance across all students. And we've seen some games of upward to 35%. So again, that I think speaks to the supportive environment that we're able to create with our partnership with Tree Street. Next slide. Next Step, you've heard a lot about events tonight, and we have more to share as well. And really, Next Step's programming is built around student voice and choice. So one example that I wanted to provide is Hawa Abdi, who's a senior at Next Step, wanted to create opportunities for the boys in our community. Not just because there's been a lot of grief and loss of late, but also because there needs to be more opportunities outside of school. So we have a clothing design class at Next Step, and they designed a logo, they created t-shirts. We worked with the Lewiston Rec and the Lewiston Maples team, and we put on a really positive event. We had 40 student players, we had 15 adult mentors and volunteers from the community, and we also raised $500 for a family that was in need. Okay, you have to change. Our middle school program, similarly, those students have lots of opinions, and it's exciting to work with them. So they wanted to put on a middle school dance. And so they planned the entire event, they coordinated, they had to market it. So they learned project management skills and marketing skills. And we had a great event for them in January. Next slide. Another big thing we're doing at Next Step is we're really trying to bring our employer community into the schools to again get kids thinking about to the real world that's around them right now. So one example is in the fall, we hosted an entrepreneurship day with 15 different entrepreneurs from across the state and one from New York City. The students got to network with them and learn about how they kind of got to where they are. And they also did their own business pitch competition where the winners then got to come with me to the Rue Institute in Portland to see professional entrepreneurs pitch for VC money, and they also got to see the governor speak, which they're excited about. A pilot we're doing with our seniors this year, with our in coordination with Tree Street's Pine program, is we've set each of our seniors up with a paid internship opportunity that is augmented by a workforce development class. So they're learning financial literacy, healthy habits, and life skills. And Forage Market, Black Diamond Detailing, Community Organizing Alliance, Identity Salon, Lewiston Rec, and Lewiston Library are all serving as individual work sites for those students. So we really wanted to kind of push them out and give them a real life opportunity right now while they're still in school and getting all of the support that you get. So yeah, if you have any questions, thank you for your time.
Member Hurd.
I don't know if you've heard my previous question.
I did.
Okay.
I'll just jump into that. I think for me, ESER is interesting because I think it showed us what kind of extra investment can look like. And I think in these times, investing, I obviously understand the challenge we're facing with cuts and things like that. But I think we saw the impact of that investments that a lot of folks have spoken to tonight. And our students are even more in crisis than they were when the pandemic began. So I really just think any support you can provide us to keep doing our jobs, but also to think about what investing can look like by partnering with organizations. I'll say emphatically, like we could not do our work without the incredible people at Tree Street Youth, and thinking about different community partnerships as well that we can develop. Think about the expertise that's in our community, the people that may not go out and get a teaching credential, but if we can support them on a pathway to work in our schools, we have a lot of brilliance in our community, and supporting that to bring us all together and give our students the best chance, I think would send a really strong message to our kids who are dealing with hopelessness, depression. They're looking for what is this future that I'm going into? And I think it's on the adults to step up and be like, we do imagine a better future with you in it, and this is how we're supporting you.
Member Medina.
So I just wanted to say thank you for all the great work you're doing there. You know, some kids don't function well in a big school setting. So I know that this works for some kids and that's amazing. Also, I wanted to know, where can we buy the shirts? Like, I think that's super cool.
Jay can give you my email. All right. Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Next up, we have Kirsten Crafts, the director of our special education department.
Hello. Kirsten Cross, the Director of Special Education. I have two assistants, Justin Kelleher and Anna Matthew. Our student enrollment is currently at 1,111 students as of today that have IEPs, and we have 288 students with 504s on top of that. Staff in the special education department, there's about 335. That includes administration, whether it's the assistant principals for special ed, BCBA supervisors, all of them. Teachers, paraprofessionals, ed techs, service providers, that includes OT, PT, speech, etc., and our administrative support staff. Vision and goals update. So I was trying to think about the bright spots I would add today. And so I was thinking that I would go back to what I presented last year to all of you about my vision and goals and do a follow-up of that to see the progress that has been made since then. So I had three key things last year: restructuring and reallocation of funds, increase the quality and skill level of staff, and improve teaching and learning for special education students. So for restructuring and reallocation of funds, I was able to last year take some unfilled positions and convert them to 4 cohorts for RISE and FLS at Connors. Principal Farrar talked about that earlier. We also added 2 self-contained behavior classrooms in the district, one here at Connors and one at McMahon, which Charlotte and Johnson talked about, sorry. I also put on here an organizational chart. That is something that Jake, I believe, passed out to all of you, maybe not yet. But it was something I've had a lot of support from Jake and the executive team here in improving special ed. I wanted you all to know that. And we actually went away for a retreat for a few days to really think and look at what's working, what's not working, how can we improve communication, because there's so many people involved in special education. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. And so we sat down as a team and really focused our time and energy on that. So I wanted you to see that. And we're putting it into play right now, and it's, still not perfect, but we're really trying to make things run smoother. So, and we can better the education for our students. Increase the quality and skill level of staff. I know Dawn mentioned earlier that Travis was a TCI train the trainer. We actually have 10 in district that were trained. I took ESSER funds last year and used that to have a trainer come on board to train our trainers. So we have individuals in pretty much every school building in the district right now that can do that. So we are holding those trainings throughout the school year as well in the summer. We're doing research. So in July of 2022, we had 55 TCI certified staff members. That means that you've gone through the whole deal, 4 days, passed the test. Right now, as of today, we have 103 that are fully certified. And in June 2023, it's got upcoming June, we'll have an additional 20 that will be trained. Co-teaching at Geiger, McMahon, LMS, and LHS. We implemented that last summer. We did training. We're continuing to do training. We're going to do more training this summer to try to improve that. I have a program known as iReady that really analyzes data for students that where they're at and individualizes differentiates. And basically, I'm trying to get the co-teachers to do that in their classrooms so that the students can be served with their SDI, but also be with their mainstream. Improve teaching and learning. So I already mentioned the co-teaching. We want to expand it where appropriate. Like I said, this summer, we will continue to offer PD for that. We're using the diagnostic data results to inform our instruction and differentiate through iReady, which is a program we're using. We're also trying to train. I've been advocating with the teaching and learning department, I guess you could say at Dingley, to get some time for special education teachers to do their own, to have special ed training that is more applicable to them, learning how to write IEPs appropriately. A lot of our teachers are either conditionally certified or on emergency certification, and they need that time to become better at their craft and to make sure that their IEPs are accurate and that they really reflect where the student's at so that they can make growth and progress. We can go on. So special programming. I know on Monday night, I talked a little bit about our outplacement because the cost is so high. So I thought I wanted to really point out tonight the good things that we're doing in-house. Currently, right now, we have special programming in most of our buildings. You see all the different things. But we're serving 201 students in-house right now today that would need something else like a special purpose private school. So if we didn't have this programming, those kids would also be at Margaret Murphy or at Sweetser, et cetera. I know there's like 120 that are outplaced right now, but this is us servicing them in-house. We are short-staffed. I mean, we have openings and vacancies. That's where you see some of those things that'll say like McMahon day treatment. It's 39 out of 50. If we picked up 4 more BHPs, we could serve more students. After looking at all my calculations, I think that we could probably serve about 70 more students if we were fully staffed, but we're not at the moment. However, like I mentioned on Monday, hiring's picked up. I think is that all I had? Yes, so. Any questions?
Member Hurd.
Thank you. So you already know my question, and you came to us last year with a big ask.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like your big ask has made a big difference. So it shows that even though it sounds big and scary, like it can make such a huge difference. So is there anything that you would like to add, or?
I mean, I think that I'm ready. And last year, I wasn't ready to look at some of the things I'm ready to look at now. Last year, it was kind of like just getting everything under control, what's not working. I really want to start focusing on teaching and learning for special education students and making sure that that is really looked at and improves, because I believe in that. And so that's really what I want to look at moving forward. So that. Member Scott.
Thank you. Bravo. bravo, bravo, bravo. This is huge. Giving us these numbers, the projected tuition costs, letting our community understand that we are currently serving 200 students that would be probably outplaced, that if we had full staffing, we would have 70 more students in-house, and the cost differential between that and what that is outplaced, and the amazing work that you have done in this, what I consider a short period of time, in a very, very difficult.
I wanted
Yeah.
to add, I meant to say this earlier, but our staff that are in programs, or all of our special education staff, like they should really be commended because they work so hard. It's not an easy job. And so I feel like
Well, several of them are sitting here tonight, so bravo to you too, because I do this work myself, and this is, I just want to commend you all. Great job. And thank you,
yeah,
Kristen.
and the administrators too. I mean, it's not always easy on them in the buildings. But I think that everybody is really in it together and we're trying to get through it. So.
Member Bopalant?
Thank you. Yeah, again, I share the feelings of the sentiments of the congratulations and the great job you and your staff have done. I'm a little confused, and I just want clarity for the folks at home as well. The student enrollment and the staff figures, those have already been counted. If the people at home have been listening to the individual buildings, how many of these people in administration, upper administration, or particular students haven't been counted?
Sorry, I didn't.
And I didn't say that clearly. Maybe somebody can express a little more clearly. If we're looking at a total of 1,111 students and 335 staff.
Yep.
Have they all been counted by these individual schools? Or, okay, so this is not an extra, as we all
The
know.
335, though, it counts the vacant positions as well that we currently have. I put that in there just because they're in the current budget, so I felt like it should be stated.
Okay, thank you.
It does not count the 31 that I took out for next year. So that would come down. Those 31 are the ones that if we were hired for, we could program in-house.
Thank you.
Could you just briefly share how the addition of the special ed APs has benefited the district? That was a new thing this year, and I'd like to know how that helped.
It's been great. Having Michelle Winslow, Michelle Russell, and Jim come on that have either been in a special ed before or been administrators was super helpful. I feel like everyone is taking it very seriously and dedicated. And I don't worry about, like I did before, like, am I going to lose one this month? I feel like they're in it for the long run. So that's been great. I don't know. I think it's a good thing. So
I just want to add that annually, we were looking at 4, 5, and 6 people leaving that supervisor level position. This year, we are not looking at that situation at all. And I think the big difference is really going to be felt over the next several years as Kirsten has the time to really focus in her efforts. We make tough choices, as you know, and continue to program for students. But if we develop continuity, which I believe you've supported to do and is happening, where that can go is really, really powerful.
yeah, last year Geiger didn't have a supervisor for like most of the year. So that gets tricky and hard. So luckily that has not happened. And
I'm sure they can speak to it if they like. I just want to add, so like in that situation, Cindy and Michelle got themselves to a point that because they were familiar with special ed, they would rather take on the extra work than have it done poorly and have someone take off next year. So for an administrative team to say, we're better off just doing it because it'll be done right, even if it's more work for us than trying to fix what's done wrong and then have turnover again. So I think, I don't know if we can put a dollar on that, but it shifts that whole mindset of what are we doing here together? And it builds that team up.
Member Bopalant?
Thank you. Jake, could you please reiterate the percentage of the budget that special ed is a part of?
what is it? How much?
Yeah, no, percentage would be fine.
29 million.
So that would just be the Article 2 number, and I am looking at that right now. Excuse me,
No.
26% of the overall budget. And while that's a big number, we do have a high level of need in our community. And I also want to, again, it hasn't been easy, but Kirsten has last year identified over 30 positions, closer to 40 that we could be without, which is about half of that was used to try to fund this stability. The other chunk was just removed from our budget. And she's also brought forth over 30 positions this year. Inefficiencies she believes she's found that we can reduce. So it's trending in the right direction. Cost wise.
Any further questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Next, we have Director Rob Callahan from Lewiston Regional Technical Center to present his bright spots.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. As it says, I have two assistant directors at LRTC, Pete Gagnon and Matt West. As Doug mentioned earlier, we are hosting parent-teacher conferences this evening, so they're back minding the store, so to speak, with all of that. I would also add that as part of our administrative team, Rob Schmidt is our student services coordinator that does a lot of our career placement, new student recruitment, individual and group support and advisement. So I'm trying to, I thought tonight I'd just provide just a bit of a snapshot in terms of things happening as I've moved around the school this past week that I felt were worth talking about and really kind of, I think, give us pause to feel good about the work that's happening. So as the graphic would indicate, we have 795 students at LRTC, about 37 staff. We have no current openings that I'm aware of, hopefully, since I left the building. We have a metric that I'm pretty proud of, that although we are the largest center in the state, that at about $4,400 a student, we are the second lowest cost per pupil for any CTE center or region in the state. And it's something that we work very hard to make sure that we are good stewards of the tax dollar, and that the work that we do is going into the most positive ways that we can direct and support students. So in terms of bright spots, tomorrow is a great example. We're putting 83 students on a bus for 2 days to go up to the Skills USA State Championships in Bangor, Maine. And that is 30 more than any other tech or career center in the state of Maine. If it seems like I'm competitive, it's because I really am. I like it when our students really, I call it take a moderate risk and step outside of their own level of comfort and do something like go away for an evening, compete, in an opportunity with other students, but it's really more about their own self-discovery. So we are so passionate about Skills USA because it really allows students to understand different things about themselves. So we'll have students competing in all of the trades, business, healthcare, in things like Quiz Bowl, criminal justice, culinary arts. And I expect to be back before all of you in a couple of weeks presenting out the good news. I really do think our students will do very well. But like I said, before we even get on the bus, the value of them taking this risk and doing what they've done is invaluable. They need to understand what they're capable of. And I think there's a lot to be proud of, and we need them to know that. So we'll be spending the next couple of nights in Bangor, and hopefully Friday night we'll be on the podium with some awards and things like that, but we're very proud. I'd also say that the other reason to be bright about what's happening at LRTC is the fact that I had a dozen staff members sign up without asking about, can I get a day off? Can I get some extra stipend or whatever, that will spend those 2 nights with us, that will be there around the clock for our students, monitoring things like, lost competition wear and missing tools or whatever. And also just making sure that we're engaging with our students, supporting them. There's going to be some tears, I'm sure. There's going to be some nervousness, and those folks will be there to let them know you've got this, you're okay, you can do it. So that's going to be fantastic. And like I said, I look forward to providing you with an update in terms of where we are after Friday night. Other bright spots, if you look out when you leave tonight, you're going to see over on our lot that abuts the Connor School here, we're stick building a house that all of our building trade students are involved in a program to build a home, which we're going to work and deploy in the city of Lewiston. That again is something that we designed, we have electrified, or we will electrify and plumb, that we framed out, and it will be a work that our students will be proud of for many years, and more importantly, it'll serve an important purpose for a family in need in this community. We sent 45 CNAs out this past week to begin their clinical work. All between them all, they'll do about 2,200 hours of community service as CNA students in hospitals and long-term care facilities around the community. We have, at the moment, dozens of students in co-ops, job shadows, and internships, such as Thomas Mosier, St. Mary's Healthcare, and Evergreen Subaru. We've also begun recently an exciting partnership with Central Maine Healthcare, where we've done 2 career fairs for students about opportunities in clinical and non-clinical opportunities for employment now with the Central Maine healthcare system. If you're a fan of fishing, the students in our welding program are building fish ladders that are going in conjunction with inland fisheries and wildlife, and we'll be deploying those around the state. As I think I mentioned the other night, we're very proud of a grant that we won, a leadership grant from state DOE regarding creating alignments in CTE and academic curriculum, so that we're convening a sort of a task force with local curriculum directors and guidance counselors, so that we want to make sure that every bit of benefit that exists in a CTE experience is reflected in that high school experience, so that if a student in our engineering program should get math and science credits because we're hitting math and science standards, this grant will help us sort of unearth that and articulate it well to those principals and guidance counselors at our partner schools and make sure that kids get the credit they've earned. We have a thriving student council at the moment, over 40 students that are working on things like they've selected students of the month. They have been involved in community service. They have been fundraising for things like our Skills USA. I think I mentioned the other night as well that our robotics team, Team 8023, Lewiston High School, Lewiston Regional Technical Center, won its most recent competition. I think you had a great demonstration from their robot. They went down to Salem, Mass, and did extremely well. So I'm sure you'll be back hearing and seeing the robot doing its thing again. We are working on a great opportunity in our automotive area with Bill Grant and our nutrition staff, Alyssa, in transportation, to make sure that our vehicles are well maintained and roadworthy. So we're going to be developing a maintenance program where we can bring our vehicles in, do our pre-inspection for state inspection licenses, which our students are working towards. And this will allow, again, our fleet in the district to stay healthy and our students to gain that experience by having to review those vehicles and make recommendations about needed service. I guess I'll end on just a couple of things. One of the things that I'm most proud of is the fact that the statistic, and this is a state reported number, that anywhere in the last 4 or 5 years, between 90 and 92% of our students in programs graduate their high school. And so for us, that's an extremely important number. All the great things that we do are I think diminished if we can't also say that our students are completing and earning their high school degree. So that's a key piece for us. It's one of the reasons we're so intent on this leadership piece. We want to see students earning those credits and graduating. But again, we have great partners in our local area high school. So I'm excited about that number. And I think it tells a great story about what we've been up to. I will end. So recently, both Lewiston High School and Lewiston Regional Technical Center were reaccredited by the New England Schools and Colleges Association. I'm sure some of you know that. You may have been involved. I know some of you were able to come to our social with our accreditation team. It's 17 educators from around New England, from career and technical high schools. And if I could, I want to read 2 quick lines from the end of their report that sort of talks about their experience with LRTC. Again, they didn't know us. Most of them were from Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. But I thought this was a particularly meaningful excerpt from the end of their report. And it said, the team determined during its concluding meetings that LRTC is an excellent institution due to the strong and committed leadership of its administrators, the dedication of its outstanding faculty and support staff, and the systemic long-term support of the local community. There were so many formal and informal interviews with LRTC students who fully support and acknowledge these positive attributes to the success of the school. We encourage the LRTC community to continue to foster this positive learning environment. So that was something that we were particularly proud of as this report was unleashed. I'll anticipate one question about where we would like some help. And that would be really, I'd say in two areas. One is your ongoing support for new student opportunities. Again, the number that I would go back to, and actually it was inaccurate up there. I said 616 students have applied. It's actually 625. It changed from about noontime till about 4 o'clock this afternoon. We got additional applications. So with about 450 seats next year, we have about 625 students that tell us they want to be at LRTC. So while that's exciting and encouraging, it also tells us that, you know, there probably be somewhere in about 200 students that will still be back at their home high schools wishing that, you know, they had an opportunity with us. So the idea that we're going to continue to build out that raft of programs at Edward Little is something that I would love to ask your support of, and I'll be back to sort of update you on that work. The other thing is that we talked about our funding formula the other night. You asked some really good questions about that. And I'm pleased to say, since I was here, that we did get an LD number. It's LD, get your pens out, 1158. And we would ask your support with our local legislative delegation. And again, I feel blessed because they've been wonderful supporters of LRTC. But they and the other educators around the state, this is not just a Lewiston thing. This is a funding formula that really is sort of outmoded. As I said to you the last time we spoke, it doesn't include things like equipment and transportation. And for CTE centers that support a regional student base, that's a really difficult because inevitably it's the center coming back to its local district and trying to figure out how to make it work. So I will keep you posted on that LD, but we're hoping that around the state, people will see the wisdom and the investment that we need to make in CTE around the state, not just in Lewiston, Auburn. These are really statewide issues. So with that, I'll conclude, but if anybody has questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Member Bowden?
Thank you. It's not a question. I just want to rave about the opportunities that this program gives our students. It really is very unique and incredible. And I just want to say good luck in Bangor. Good luck to any of the students that might be watching, that probably aren't watching, but good luck to you guys. And I hope you bring back a lot of gold.
Thank you very much. That will be.
Member Scott?
Thank you. Can we have a list of all those things you just talked about, like the building of the building and all of those things? Because those are the kind of things we want to put out on social media and the news and get out there, because that's some really phenomenal work that our students doing. And thank you for the job you're doing.
This is my copy. I wrote all over it, but I'll send a clean copy to Superintendent
Perfect.
Langlis and make sure that he has it to distribute.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, Member Damon?
Rob, I know that there are new programs that are starting at EL, hopefully if they get the building finished. How many additional new programs are we talking about LRTC adding next year?
So next year, we're talking about 2 new programs and expanding 2 existing programs. The second year, we're talking about 4 additional programs that are new. And then the third year, it would be 2 programs that are new as well. So 10 total. I've written program applications and they're all approved by the state. We could start 10 tomorrow. I just think that's probably a little bit ambitious for where we're at.
Member Hurd?
Thank you. Just on a follow-up for Member Damon, how many additional student spots will the program at EL offer?
So we're anticipating anywhere from 400 to 450 additional seats open.
Can you share what the new programs are?
I can, yes. So off the top of my head, next year will be cosmetology. We'll have you in for a mani and a pedi and all that kind of stuff. Superintendent Langlis is first in the cosmetology chair. We will have EMT next year. We will also be moving our early childhood program into a beautiful new facility that has its own playground and some more appropriate spaces for that sort of program. And then we'll be expanding the Green Ladle and our hospitality program, and they'll have a similar program there. That will be next year. The year after, we'll have firefighting that will come online. We'll also have 2 9th and 10th grade exploratory programs, one in the trades area and one in the medical areas. And the other is biotechnology, and that will be next year. And then the final year, we'll be doing composites manufacturing and precision machining.
Anybody have any other questions or comments? Thank you
But
very much.
I guess I would also just quickly say that I've also looked at, just based on some of the feedback I had the other night, and our numbers in some areas, plumbing and electrical, are particularly strong as well. And that's something, as we talk about how these programs take shape, that we'll consider about bringing additional opportunity online for students.
It's exciting stuff. Thank you. Oh, Member Willow.
This isn't, anyways, you mentioned a fish ladder, and I'm just picturing a fish climbing a ladder, and I just need to know what it is.
It's a great, so as you know, that in Maine, unfortunately, well, we have a system where sometimes we dam rivers, right? And this prevents natural migration movements of fish up and down. This allows them, they're built out around dams and allow fish to sort of literally jump up a ladder or move down it, so that they can complete their migratory pattern and not get sort of stymied by a dam. So, but believe it, like they've got to be very precise in their angles. The fish are very particular about what they'll climb or go down or what they won't. So we're learning a lot about it.
Thank you. Is everybody okay with taking a quick 5-minute break? Okay. We will continue with adult ed.
Have Jen Tyner, the Director of Adult Ed, to talk about some bright spots for us.
First, I want to thank you for having us here tonight to talk about our programming and all the great work that we're doing. It's always nice to come and share our good work. I wanted to start tonight just by sharing some of the operational numbers, if you will. I am Jen Tyner. I'm the director, and you all have met my assistant director, Razel. She couldn't be here tonight, obviously, because we have programming happening. So someone has to be there to help run things. Our student enrollments, you can see our numbers here, and I tried to give a breakdown of the different types of programs that we're running and what the enrollment figures are. Like most of the schools have indicated, this is a little bit of a moving target. We find, lots of times if there's a layoff or if there are opportunities where we have a lot of new people coming into our community, our numbers will fluctuate a little bit depending on what's happening in the community. But this is a pretty accurate snapshot as to where we are right now. And those enrollments are looking pretty good. They're pretty healthy. You'll see in the box next to those enrollments, it's very small print and I have a hard time reading it without my glasses, but you can see that I tried to show the breakdown of some of the languages that are reflected in our programming. That's not every language that's represented in our program. It's very similar to what you heard with the multilingual department when they shared their languages. It's a very similar breakdown. But I wanted to have you see what it looked like for adult education. We currently have 24 staff members. That's a combination of part-time and full-time. We have no open positions, so that's great. A couple of those are ESSER funded positions. One in particular is our adult diploma pathway program coordinator and instructor. One of our positions is part-time funded through ESSER funds. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that program shortly. In addition to the 24 staff members, we have also 6 volunteers currently who are working in our program, different days and different times of the day to come in and provide some additional support like conversation classes or working in very small groups with our learners on various needs that they may have. We also welcome lots of community partners into our programming. We provide some classroom space for ILAP once a month to come in and talk with our learners about any kind of immigration or legal support that they may need. And that's just one example of some of the work that we do with our community partners. In addition, not reflected in this staff number is our enrichment program, and every semester that fluctuates a little bit. We can have anywhere between 40 to 50 enrichment teachers whom we work with. It might be a one-night class or it might be a several-week class. And that enrichment programming is really our community education. So it's things like come learn Portuguese, or maybe you want to do learn how to make baskets or do some art. And we are happy to share that we are seeing a slight increase in that this year. It's been tough with COVID to get people to come back for community education, but we continue to strive to try to get our community back in the evenings. That programming happens both at our Longley Center and at our new location at the high school. And as you can see, our programming is pretty diverse. We run both all 3 types of programming with academics, and then workforce, and of course, our enrichment. So if you look at the breakdown of the enrollments, the first 4 categories listed are our academic programs. Also just want to note, we have our graduate, one picture there, and we have our teacher, Kelly Rudd, who's been with us for over 20 years, teaching our very foundational literacy in these pictures. The next slide. I wanted to share briefly some highlights with you. I'm really pleased and proud to share that our English language or multilingual programming, for the first time since COVID, has surpassed what we would have called our boom pre-pandemic. So I tried to give a snapshot or a breakdown of what those numbers look like. And our newest immigrants, for those of you who aren't familiar, are from our Afghanistan population, our Afghan immigrants. And you can see from the language breakdown in the previous slide that we are actually seeing quite a few of our new learners coming in speaking Pashto and Dari, which are some new languages for us in our community. When I looked at other highlights to mention, I wanted to be sure to talk about the adult diploma program. When I came into adult education back in 2013, we were seeing a real decrease in students who were choosing to do adult diploma. They were typically going the path of what was the GED and is now the high set. And with all of the increased alternative pathways at the high school level, we found that there were fewer and fewer students enrolling in actual diploma classes. What we found since the pandemic is that it's been very beneficial to try to renew that programming and provide yet another pathway for our learners. Having some relationships between Lewiston and Auburn has really benefited this program. We are able to coordinate with Auburn's programming to be able to really offer a robust list of classes for our diploma students. And what we're seeing is we're having students enroll regardless of where they live, right? And we have some support with transportation with some of the grant funds that we have. So transportation no longer needs to be a barrier. In addition to that, we have had increased enrollment in our high set programming, in particular with our collaboration with the Androscoggin County Jail. So we were able to have one of our staff members committed a little more time into the jail. And she really has done a really nice job working with students while they're there and helping to get some of them through the high set testing process, which is really important as we think about people coming back into our community and how we integrate them successfully into our community. And then I talked about the collaboration with Auburn for the diploma. In addition to that, we're collaborating with Auburn in lots of ways, including our English language programming, and I'll talk a little bit shortly about workforce training. So in Lewiston, our workforce training pathways is really based on an integrated education and training model. So one of the things that we do, which makes us a little bit different than other training programs in our community, is that we really look at integrating what the academic skills are, along with the employability skills and the hard skills credential requirements for whatever the credential of value is or whatever sector the student is looking to enroll into. This year, we ran an IET program, which is the acronym for Integrated Education and Training, in applied technology in the workplace. And that was an initiative that actually not only involved Lewiston and Auburn, but the entire hub, which is our region of all Androscoggin and Oxford County programs. That programming, because Lewiston is one of the larger programs in our hub, we tend to be kind of the home base for a lot of these programs, but we are able to help people either get to Lewiston with support with transportation and or remote into these programs, particularly with technology training, since they have to have some technology skills to be able to be credentialed in that. In addition, we have partnered with Central Maine Community College to run CNA. And this spring, we will be running a welding program specific for newcomers and multilingual learners that adult education will be providing the kind of the language support and instruction, while our community college partner will be providing the welding instruction. So we're very excited about that. We also have started and are currently running a Teller Academy in partnership with Androscoggin Bank. That also has a very strong component for our multilingual learners and integrated English and math instruction as part of that program. And we were very fortunate to have been awarded, I know we talked about this earlier last year, that we were awarded a $1.3 million apprenticeship grant. The announcement came out in June of last year, and we actually received the contract and the funding in October. So I mention that because when you take a look at the workforce numbers, we have really, we continue to do our traditional workforce programs, but we're also developing a whole nother list of workforce training programs through apprenticeship pathways. And that includes pre-apprenticeship through apprenticeship. So it's important to note that there's one point of entry and there's several points of exit throughout those training programs. Healthcare is already underway, and we are currently developing construction and manufacturing. And we're hoping we can launch those early fall. In addition, we've continued our partnership with Lewiston Public Schools to provide substitute teacher training, particularly for our newcomer and multilingual populations, for those folks who come to us from other countries where they may have worked in education and are interested in continuing that path in the United States. I wanted to mention we had 20 participants so far in our healthcare apprenticeship pathway, and we're starting our next round coming up in a few weeks. And in addition to that, we continue our partnership with Bates College, where we are doing some on-site English language instruction for the dining services department. We have some new partnerships and a new grant that I'd like to just talk about briefly. So this year we have a kind of a longstanding relationship and partnership with Central Maine Community College. But this year we also are just about finalizing our relationship with USMLAC. So for those of you not familiar, USMLAC is a USM location in Lewiston. It also is a site for the University of Maine at Augusta. And what we're looking to finalize, I have a meeting in a couple of weeks where they're going to allow us to use space and resources on campus there to run our college and career access programming. So we're looking for this summer to run an on-site college transitions program for adult learners actually on a college campus, which we have done at Central Maine Community College in the past, but now we're looking to expand to USMLAC. In addition to that, we're hoping to continue talks with our local district partners, Lewiston Public Schools and USM, to develop an apprenticeship pathway. We're hoping for our educator pathway. And adult education will be a part of that process. Several weeks ago, I applied for the Hub for a Strengthening Maine Workforce grant, and I received news today. It's like a gift that I can share with you, that we have been awarded the grant. The grant, it was for $200,000. They are negotiating a little bit. I expect that number might come down a little bit given the number of grants that the state has awarded. But that money will be used, Lewiston will be the fiscal agent, but that money will be used to support the development of programming at the Edward Little CTE site for adult learners. And Auburn, even though it's not really that much further from Lewiston, it's amazing when you live in Mechanic Falls or Poland or Turner, it feels like it's so much closer. So we're hoping it will attract more people, and it will be some different programming than what we run in Lewiston. So that's really exciting. And those are the big highlights that I wanted to share with you. You can see some pictures. The bottom one is the picture of the governor who came to Longley to announce the apprenticeship grant. And the speaker there was one of our students who was talking about the benefits of integrated workforce training. And then the other two, the very top is a cohort of students who are participating in our healthcare apprenticeship pathway, and they are all holding certificates that show they have completed their bloodborne pathogens training, which they're very excited about. And then the middle picture is a picture of our CNA students that we participated in a collaboration with Central Maine Community College. That's just two of them. Are there any questions?
Go ahead, Ms. Hurd.
I'm not sure you heard my previous question.
I'm just so happy I get to, like, it's the same question for me.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard your question. So thinking a lot, I just want to say Lewiston adult education is so fortunate. We have a very long history of very good working relationships in this community. We have incredible support from Lewiston Public Schools and the administrative team and all of the educators that are part of this system. And of course, incredible support from this board. So I think probably the best way that you can continue to provide that support is to just continue to talk about adult education and to keep lifelong learning kind of in the background of all that you think about, because the services that we provide are incredibly valuable for the parents and the family members and the guardians and the friends of the people that we serve in K-12 programming. And for many of our adult learners, this provides a really invaluable path as a chance to meet the goals that they're setting for themselves, and the bravery and persistence that it takes for them to come back to school. So just keep talking about us and keep encouraging people to reach out. And we just really appreciate that support. As a side note, if you can fix the public transportation system, that would be great. But that's just a little ask on the side. Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, I'll have Mark come up to talk about information technology.
So relationships, I know I'm going to throw some numbers at you and you're going to see a slide that's packed with information in classic IT format, but relationships are a huge part of what we do. And this picture shows our entire IT team. That's data services, that's technical coaching, and all of the technicians in a meeting on a platform that actually students taught us about. Some of you who have kids may know Discord as a service where kids communicate while they're playing games. We use that same service to communicate together. On a day-to-day basis, my team is spread over all 9 buildings, but we are constantly in touch through Discord and build relationships from that and from their teamwork into the schools that we work with. So go ahead to the next slide. So let's talk about those relationships and projects. Right up there at the top, I'm not going to go through each of these bulleted items here, although I am going to highlight a few things. The AV equipment upgrade. So we have an ESSER-funded project to upgrade the audiovisual equipment in every single teaching space in the district. And in order to do that project well, we've partnered with Pro AV, and we've worked with each of the building principals to walk each and every classroom space, look at it, and make decisions about what's the best AV for that classroom space. And by the time we get through, we will have walked 471 classrooms. Each principal and their teams tell us a lot about what they need in those spaces, and we respond to that. Another project I want to talk about is something that came to us from the state. The state awarded us STEM carts. I don't know if you remember those, but those were carts that were designed to bring STEM into everyday classrooms. In that program, we got a couple of different kinds of carts, but we are using those carts, you can see in here, already in high school curriculum in a number of places. Service requests. So we put the service requests counts up there to just give you an indication of the volume of work that we do. So we've had about 123 working days this school year. And in those working days, we've closed over 3,000, almost 4,000 service requests. That's setups for AV. That's brand new technology in classroom spaces. One of the pictures that you see up there are carts, charging carts for Chromebooks at the middle school. It was a huge project that we took on in the middle of the year as we shifted how we manage Chromebooks in the middle school space. Coaching, technology coaching is a big deal for us. So Tammy Thibodeau took on a new role for us. in leading our technology coaches. And that's really important because that Venn diagram that I put up there speaks to the work that she's doing. When we received the grant funding through COVID, a giant wave of technology and equipment and software came at us. So much so that a lot of our technology coaches were actually overlapping significantly in the technology space. What we've been able to do since Tammy's come on board is move our coaches more to a coaching model where they should be. So they're intimately acquainted with curriculum and with technology, which is something that everyday technologists really aren't tuned to do. They're also incorporating Ozobots in the classroom for the illustrative math program in the 6th grade level. Data services is doing a tremendous amount of work for us. And one of the primary goals that they have is to reduce the amount of paper and the complexity of processes. And so they've enhanced the parent portal to eliminate paper processes, as well as done a tremendous amount of work providing single sign-on for students through technology called ClassLink. So students go to a single page and all of the resources that they need, they're already logged into. And we manage a lot of equipment. You can look at those numbers up there. And the quality of the team that we have is just so tremendously good that not only is it equipment, but it's every operating system you can imagine out there. Android phones, Apple phones, Chromebooks, Windows PCs, MacBooks, iPads, you name it, our team can do it. And that leaves us to our goal. The reason that we do this is we want to provide usable, secure technology that contributes to the development of each of our future graduates. Questions?
Member Bowden?
Thank you. I'm just curious, since you touched upon it a little bit, how did the transition go at Lewiston Middle School? As far as not having the students take laptops home anymore, has that been a successful transition?
I think it's been very successful. So what sparked that transition was an incredibly high repair rate. So we have over 800 devices in that school for students, and we were at a repair rate at around the holiday break of 50%. So over half of those devices had been out and come back for repair. And just felt like it would be better for peace of mind for the students and the families, and better for peace of mind for the teachers. So when students take devices home, they often don't come back to school on the test day that they need them. You know, the device stays home, or maybe it's not charged. And so I think it's really contributed to a better environment.
So on that note, this isn't a question so much as a cute story, but since that has happened, my daughter, who is a middle school student, has a personal development class where they are acting out an episode of Shark Tank, and they had to come up with an invention to put before their teacher, the shark. And her invention was like a rubber mat to hold the laptops down on the table so less kids drop them and break them. So maybe they would have privilege to bring them home again. So I just thought that was really cute, and it just reminded me of that. So yeah. Thank you for what you're doing.
They were sliding off tables.
Well, I asked her, I said, is that really the problem? And she's like, oh, I can't even tell you how many times I've dropped mine off the table.
Throw a gym mat down on the floor, right? Yeah. Good.
Member Eames?
Mine was a simple question of what's an Ozobot?
So Ozobots are very similar to Severos, which doesn't explain anything to you at all. There's a picture on this slide of a very small, round, circular robot. They're programmable. They can do a tremendous number of things. And Tim's kids can work in teams to solve problems, to maybe navigate a maze, and work with the robot to sense things, sensing the edge of the table, that sort of thing. And they really bring to life problems around math and teamwork and programming and things like that.
Member Hurd?
Thank you. So I'm sure you've heard my question.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
So there's two areas actually. So coming forward in the budget, we're doing a little bit of restructuring of personnel to make services better for folks. But not necessarily forward in this budget, but very important. When you look at that technical coaching Venn diagram, we're really short of technical coaches. So we have one ESSER funded technical coach that we would really need to bring to local budget. But honestly, this district could use at least 3 more of those positions. And then the other place would be you folks find yourselves in places of influence when grants are written, or maybe participate in grant writing with manufacturers, politicians at the state and at the federal level. And in particular, in IT, grants are often written for the equipment. And you get the equipment in, but not included in the grant is care and feeding of the equipment over time, or incorporating the equipment, planning for incorporating it into curriculum. So it's often a heavy lift. And so as you're writing grants or working with people who are writing grants, critically evaluate the professional services on the technical side and on the curriculum side, and see if those are included in there. And those would be very helpful steps.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
So next we have nutrition and transportation, and Director Roman was not able to join us tonight. So I'm going to do my best to share with you what she put together for us. Alyssa Roman is our Director of Nutrition and Transportation. She splits that her time between the two. We do have an Assistant Director of Nutrition and an Assistant Director of Transportation who obviously helps support that work, and an administrative assistant who helps support work as well. In the nutrition department, we have 75 employees. And I believe Alyssa shared with me this afternoon, we have an employee in our nutrition department who's been with us for 30 something years, maybe 38. I don't want to misquote it, but some really dedicated staff. And nutrition, I believe, is full in terms of staffing, and that was not the case at the beginning of the school year. So that's exciting. Transportation, she included the employees that work for Hudson, but help serve our students. So that's 99 employees. That includes the terminal manager and the assistant manager and the dispatcher. And then you can see the breakdown of those other pieces. So some highlights from transportation on the next slide include, you can see a picture there on the side. That is if you could blow it up and see all of it, that's a map of all the routes that happen on a daily basis. So 188 routes daily, and we have some software that allows us to see that and program that, and that's new to us. So you can see the breakdown of routes by school, and then you can see the routes for special transportation and our McKinney-Vento students, after school, preschool, because our preschool students are on separate buses and on separate routes from our other students. So we have roughly 4,000 students using our transportation. Some nutrition bright spots. This was as of February 28th. We've had 104 days of operation. You can see the number of students served, the number of adults served for breakfast and for lunch. The supper program, just to share what that is, our after-school programs actually participate in what's called the supper program, and it's more than a snack. There's more substance to the food that is served. We also, so those programs that function in our buildings for after school participate in that, as well as Tree Street. Tree Street is a site for our supper program. So you can see the number of meals served there. We have a fresh fruit and vegetable grant. that we use and have used or have received for several years, and that allows us to provide fresh fruit and vegetables to our students, whether that's for meals or that's for snacks. You'll see the count for summer for breakfast and lunch, so that would have been last summer, and then we have received USDA food as well as some money for a worth of food from the USDA, and then also we receive money for produce from the Department of Defense to support our programs. And then just some bright spots for nutrition. We have a partnership with Food Corps, and we've heard some of that tonight. We also have received some additional grants, which have allowed our director to have opportunities to speak to some folks of influence. She's been to DC a few times and has had an opportunity to meet with our delegation, as well as the USDA and the Department of Defense to talk about how those programs could serve us better and what we might be looking for, could do for that. So by receiving those grants, she's been afforded some opportunities to get in front of some people and advocate for our staff and for our students. So there's the 38 years of service to our nutrition department by one of our staff members. That's it.
Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you.
So next up, we have Director Josh Bro with facilities. And if he fumbles or stumbles at all, I know that he's been up since around the 4 o'clock hour when he and I were talking about no power at Longley as he made his way in to check on things.
Thank you for having me tonight. I am Josh Bro, the Director of Facilities, and I'm only half as funny as Doug, but I do try half as hard. So hopefully I keep you as engaged as he did, knowing that you're going on 3 hours of listening to people point at a screen and tell you all the cool things about their departments. That being said, as stated, I am Josh Bro, Facilities Director. Ray Roy is my right-hand man. He's the Facilities Supervisor. We do have Rebecca Giroux. She is a shared administrative support person between myself, or the Facilities Department, and the IT Department. She is the grease that keeps the gears going for both departments. I will speak on your behalf. And she's the grease that keeps both departments working together because there's so many things that we do together. Going through our staff levels, we have essentially 6 people on what we call the facilities team. We have our electrician who recently just started the beginning of this month. About the middle of last month. He's going, I think, his 3rd or 4th week, give or take. We have usually 3 maintenance staff people who do all of the repairs through the district. We have a delivery driver who's now chipping in doing those repairs. And we have a sundry custodian who's essentially the backup for any head custodian that's on vacation, out sick, or out of the building for any reason. He also reports to facilities when there isn't a custodial need that he has to fill that day. Our custodial team is made up of 8 head custodians at our 8 educational facilities, as well as about 38 custodians that support those buildings. So that's basically our staff. If you want to go to the next slide. Bright spots from the facilities. I was under the impression that we had 4 minutes, so I kept mine very small. So I am usually not the curve buster, I'm the curve adjuster back to where people go. So you're welcome. So we're down to 3 open positions right now, which is great. Through COVID, we were down as many as 10 people. So that's approximately 20% of our department not here. That was a challenge. We're now starting to, recently we've had great success in getting those positions filled, and we're almost at a full staff again, which is great because we want to support our buildings and keep them clean and do everything that's asked of us day in and day out. We have several projects queued up that are going to save the district thousands of dollars in a blunt statement, thousands of dollars in utilities. Those are coming. Those are in progress. You'll see one of them on my next slide. picture of the middle school boiler, which is referenced, boiler room, I should say, which is referenced down below. Some major projects that we've recently completed, as stated, the LMS boiler plan, that's supposed to say plant, my apologies. We converted that from a steam system to a hot water system. That saves us a ton of money, and it also keeps the building open. We've lost sections of that building due to a steam leak that has caused a mold issue, because typically steam pipes are run not out in the open, they're behind walls and under stages, and they leak, especially in a building that old. And when they leak, you don't quite notice it right off until the mold shows up, and that's happened several times. I'm happy to say that the steam is gone and it's just straight hot water, and that's way better. McMahon, we had a serious challenge when the city took away on-street parking on North Temple. We didn't have enough parking to have parents come visit the building anymore, because that was where they parked. So we worked with the city. We did a capital improvement project. We put a new parking lot in the back. I want to say we added 88 spots. So now we can put all the staff in the back of the building, and we can use that whole front parking lot for parents to come in and see their kids, now that we're able to do those kinds of things again, on the backside of COVID. Not a facilities like you can touch it, feel it. But one thing we did was we used a program, an online program for our staff to be able to report issues to us. We've converted this year to the same platform that IT uses. So now our staff, when they go to report something, they go to the same spot to report an IT issue or a facilities issue. So it's familiar with them, and it gives us the ability on those shared items to be able to work concurrently with IT, which is a great help for the district. We are now on just starting year 2 of the high school expansion being occupied, which is pretty awesome. That's a great building, or great addition to that building, as most of you have seen. And then another great thing that we're doing right now is the district-wide building access and security camera system. That was in dire need of some upgrading. As you can see from the screen, we're through LHS, LMS, Montello, we're at Geiger. We're going to the rest of the schools, as we go. If you want to switch over to the this screen, it's hard to see, but on the left, that's what that boiler room looked like. It was realistically a dungeon with some heating system components like boilers and pumps and scary things that make noise. And now it's freshly painted, new lights, new boilers, energy efficient. It's doing great. We got some efficiency main money back to help support the cost of that project. And then the next picture is a picture of from this morning. That's the new parking lot at McMahon on the back side of the building, for those that haven't seen it. That was completed this fall. It's up and running and obviously being used. So that's what I have. I'd like to say you save the best for the last in facilities, but honestly, it's the first and last of the last, which is an oxymoron, but we're the first ones in and the last ones out. Like Jake said, my day started, I was on site at Longley at 5:45 this morning, and here I am. This room was full of administrators before. They're gone. I'm still here doing my job. That's what facilities is. Now, I'm not grumpy about that. Honestly, if I went first, I would have been the first one out of here too. But that's what facilities is. We take on the jobs that nobody wants to do, and we get them done. So, I do have your answer. Let me pull it out because I wrote it down so I wouldn't screw it up. What I wanted to say, what I would ask for is either from this committee or from the folks that were sitting here, bring us your ideas, whatever they may be. We're here to support the administrators, the staff, and the students. We want to hear about any project, and if there's a way to get it done, we'll figure it out. So that's what we're looking for. Not the cut and dry stuff, the easy stuff. Challenge us, bring us your ideas. Let's see what we can come up with to make it happen.
And it only made me think of it because of what you said, but you can't park on the street at McMahon.
No.
Oh, I do that every day.
Any other questions or comments, Member Bowden?
I just want to say thank you for all that you're doing for our schools. I feel like as a whole, facilities is like underappreciated and you really keep our schools running. So thank you so much for.
That's our pleasure. What we do, I don't want to say it goes unnoticed and unrecognized because it definitely does, but we're not in the forefront. We're not looking for the spotlight. We're the people in the background, making sure that everybody has what they need and their things get done. We don't always get to everything as fast as those that request it want it. It's hard to prioritize those things. Sometimes you have to put the good, or, you know, the needs of the many ahead of the needs of the few at times. And it's hard to relay that message, but honestly, most staff are very understanding. If we take the time to explain it, they take the time to hear it and appreciate what we do and what we're trying to do.
Josh, I just want to lead into one quick example. Can you remind, well, the committee doesn't know, but could you share with the committee what you were doing this morning while also trying to chase fuses for old circuitry after checking laundry?
So I'll give you, my day was not normal until around 10:30, 11, but it basically started with a phone call and a text around 5 o'clock or so, 5:15, indicating that Longley was out of power. So I hopped up out of bed, into the shower, got dressed, came running down, trying to figure out what's going on. Is it on-site problem? Is it on the street problem? What's it going to take to fix it? Can we have school? Can we go delayed start? You know, what's the plan? Once we identified what was going on there, I communicated to Jake. This is an outside the building problem. CMP doesn't have an estimated restore time. I can't tell you when we're going to get power back. So we should probably just, you know, cancel things until we get some more information. So from there, I went straight to Montello to help my staff, which is shorthanded right now, unload about 900 cases of food. They come in on about 15 pallets. About 6 of those are dry goods. So they basically just get pushed to the side and set there. The rest of them we had to unpackage, take case by case, do a daisy chain of people, bring it into the cooler, leave there, go back to Longley, figure out what's going on there because the power is back on and we wanted to see what was going on. Leave there, go to Farwell. They were having IT issues and we weren't sure if it was a power related issue because Farwell lost power last night around midnight. So we had to go check in on that. Then from there, started finding out more information and had to grab Jake and Bill's ear about what we have for options at Longley because it's not an easy solution. There's always something funky when it comes to facilities related items. And then around 10:30, 11 or so, I finally got to do my actual job. So that's par for the course for facilities.
Thank you for all of that.
Thank you as well.
The next item is to enter into executive session to discuss a personnel matter in accordance with 1 MRSA 4056A.
So moved.
Oh, sorry, Linda.
Before we can go into that, if I can just ask a couple of things. So first off, I'm sorry that everybody had to leave, but I want our community to recognize that, wow, we have a tremendous staff. We should all be proud and standing up, supporting them. I am thoroughly impressed with the presentations tonight, and I really appreciate that you brought this forward to us. I think they all deserve a standing ovation. I'm just really impressed. I do have a couple of questions, though, that I just wanted to add to the list because I know that we didn't get to really get into Lewiston Middle School, and we got some from the high school, but how many McKinney-Vento students do we have at each of those schools? I'd be interested because I'd like to know what we have. I know what we have generally all around, but I'm curious as to each school, what we have on that.
We can definitely get that for you.
And then also deans of students. Do we still have some at the middle school, and will that be presented to us when we're getting the middle school? And do we have any at any other schools?
So deans of students right now, we have 2 at the middle school, not all locally funded.
Okay.
Go Karen, neither of them are locally funded. So those are those ESER type positions that people
Okay.
are saying, and we will hear from Principal Bryant that is something that she's in desperate need of. I would also say that the culture and climate at the middle school has much improved this year over last with certain behaviors. Still room for growth, but it's come a long way. There are 2 at the high school that have been funded for multiple years. I don't think that I can think of any other dean positions. I think that's it. And the dean roles this year they're more SEL focused, and this is the first time that they've had those.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. We'll enter executive session at 8:22 PM.